All right, you're welcome back to COVID-19 update. Now we are moving down to a discussion for today. We will be taking a look at the situation report of COVID-19 in Nigeria. As we know, and I said earlier that Nigeria had new cases of COVID-19 of 667 new cases was confirmed with 12 deaths. This is according to the Nigerian Center for Disease Control yesterday. We are actually moving up and higher as regards to confirmed cases of COVID-19. We surpassed 19,000. Reasons we'll be taking a critical look at some of the issues that surround the rise in cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. And presently, Nigeria has confirmed cases of 19,147. So we will dive into our discussion today, and then we'll get to speak with our guest today. And our guest today is Mr. Akin Fatunke. He's a communications consultant, also a public affairs analyst. He will be doing justice to our discussion today. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Kemi. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Many thanks for joining today on COVID-19 updates.
You're welcome. Always my pleasure.
All right. Nigeria has recorded confirmed cases of 667 as at yesterday, according to NCDC, which actually means that we are having more cases of COVID-19. Though more samples are being tested, we have over 100,000 samples tested so far. What do you have to say as regards the increase in number we are having in Nigeria?
I would like to situate it with numbers.
Okay.
Since we are looking at numbers of yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it's getting into a crescendo. For instance, as at April 16, this same year, we were talking about 442. By May 16, we were talking about 5621. And as at the corresponding period in June, 17,146. If you see that number jumped to what we have just indicated, of going to about 19,147, you realize the fact 47 exactly. You realize that we are now dealing with what I agree with WHO when they said we are now have a new and dangerous phase in this pandemic all over the world.
Yes.
And I'm happy I listened to you go around the world, and virtually all sections of the world, about 81 countries of the world, of which Nigeria is not behind in terms of the velocity of what we are seeing.
Yeah.
Now, I am a little bit interested when I broke down those numbers, and I saw that in Lagos we had 1,177 just as at yesterday. Yeah. That accounted for about 43% of the total 19. And then, of course, Kogi looking at a meager 3%. And I want to say that for Kogi, let's begin to now take a cursory, more than interest look at the kind of brickbats that have gone on between the governor and the NCDC. And when that was going to happen, it was going to be a personal assistance to the Kogi State governor. Point I'm trying to make now is that the thing is getting on so far. And if you look back into history, when Mike Osterholm in the University of Minnesota raised the flag and said, now we are now going to, here, we are talking of the rainy season, the Northern Hemisphere is going into the summer season. It's usually the second wave. That is usually the second wave. The 1918 pandemic came around that second wave too. And intelligence projection has been saying that for us in Nigeria, what we are seeing, Kemi, regrettably, what we are seeing is going to continue to spike. It's going to continue to spike. Between August and September this year, we might be having a spike, every terrible spike. So, onto your tent, O Israel. Unfortunately for us, and this is my own informed opinion, government cannot do anything. Government have done all the things that they need to do. They've told you and I to be safe. They've told you and I to always use face masks and keep the social distance. They have caved in. They have caved in to the clamor that we should reopen, and I understand the economy has to reopen, but they brought it with a balance. That please, yes, we need to survive, but please, within that ambit of survival, keep this, do this, do that. I am not saying that is happening, and unfortunately, as we speak, the death toll is 487 yesterday.
Yeah,
I am projecting. This is scientific projection. I'm projecting that even if you double that number by the end of the year,
all right,
that goes to 974. Now, if you now then consider that we are moving at not a progressive progression, you know, we are talking about 17,148 as at June, and as at yesterday, day before yesterday, and yesterday we got to 19. We get to 19. What is that progression telling you? It tells you that more and more are going to die of this COVID infection in Nigeria.
Anyway, we'll see to your projection.
The spiritualists and say, well,
we'll see to your projections and your predictions.
May I be proven wrong, but it's staring all of us in the face. Yeah.
All right, now let's take a look at the fact that Nigeria, which happens to be Africa's biggest economy, despite the fact that we are having high cases, do you think it's actually okay and advisable that the economy being open should be left open?
Well, the economy should be left open of what the NCDC have projected. If they say to us that yes, they do understand that we have to reopen because of people that have to go to the markets and what have you, yes, quite right, because they cannot provide. We are looking at a mirror that has shown us that the social investment, our social infrastructure, our health infrastructure has failed, not just failing now, it has always been failing.
Okay.
But the coronavirus has now shown us that, yeah, there's no way we can cater for ourselves. Okay. Within that ambit, can we do safe distancing? If you do not need any reason why you have to be out, stay indoors and do all the things that you need to do. But the markets, yes, do indoors, and you can technology. Yes, I can say that technology can allow you to do some semblance of things. Yes. But those the holoi poloi, those are the down to earth. They are not able to do that. Okay, so if you are not able to do that, a 200 or 250 naira face mask that you can use, wash, keep your hands clean, and make sure that when you get into the bus, you do some distancing. We are not saying that. And unfortunately, what that is saying, what that is showing, and what that is depicting, that we are a set of people that have been so unruly, we are not prepared to obey rules and regulations, even for our own sake. I also like to say that many people don't believe. I accosted somebody at the FAN, the FAN where you do the toll gate thing, and I got it upon myself. I got down and I said, "Young lady, why are you not using face mask?" And the way and manner she did, face mask. Yeah. I said, "No, you are not going to do that. Please, you are disturbing some other people." I said, "Okay, no. If that is what you are going to do, I'm going to report you to the management of FAN." That was the only time that she shook. In other words, we've had this mentality that has been drawn into us that until we are forced at gunpoint. In fact, some police officers came to come and see what was happening. Guess what happened? Those police officers didn't have face masks. But when they saw, they didn't have face masks. Go out there anywhere you can imagine, people are not using it. So I had to tell them that this person that is standing here and speaking to you, I've had real case of some juniors of mine in school who have fallen to COVID. We just buried one 2 days ago. We were still mourning when we heard that another junior of mine in school is gone into, is actually dead, and his underage children are all having some of the symptoms. So it is only when this thing now hits you hits you directly that Nigeria now will begin to open eye and then begin to believe. For how long?
Right.
The 1,000 that I've said might happen to us. We have to be very careful.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kemi.
All right. Now, looking at the fact that 35 states, including the FCT, has been affected with COVID-19, but Cross River is yet to record any case of COVID-19. What do you think is happening in that state? Does it mean that they are trying the possible best to actually the government in Cross River is trying its possible best to not infect or allow any of their people to be infected with coronavirus? So what do you really think is happening in Cross River? Because no case of COVID-19 has been recorded.
Kenny, you have to situate that within the ambit of the bottom over what you put on top. How many people have been tested in Cross Rivers?
In Cross River, okay.
How many people can we say has been tested? So it's a function of how many people have been tested. That's number one. And whether it's in Cross River or some other areas, people are suppressing. People are self-isolating against the prescriptions of the NCDC. People are hiding. I am sure and I'm persuaded that more and more people are dying of this novel COVID-19 that has been reported. That is one. Then secondly, I like to also tell you, and I mentioned the case of Kogi when I said Kogi is about 0.02% of the total that we reported now. Some of the governors are trying to do their best to compete in the negative by saying, yes, my government is doing all that we need to do, when they know that they have not tested a wide number. They are following the Donald Trump example, who rather for some reasons, including political, he wants to come back wants to do elections maybe around November, begin to now want to paint themselves right. It is very, very difficult. The average Nigerian will tell you that it's very, very difficult to really believe some of these states. Look at what is happening in Kano. The governor of Kano came out and said, yes, I investigated the numerous deaths that I've seen in my domain. And I can tell you, I'm happy to tell you that only 15% is COVID related, for crying out loud. How many people have you tested? So people are trying to suppress. People are not putting themselves out to testing. And that is one of the reasons why I give kudos, no matter how you look at it. I give kudos to Lagos State government and the frontline people that are working in Lagos State against all of the borders have been closed. Borders are not closed, cannot be closed. Nigeria has no capacity to enforce. And so the talking will be to you, Kemi, to me, and to every other person out there. Please try and do something about your life, and then do something about the life of others, like I did to that FAAN, toll gate person. She looked at me.
All right. Okay, Gombe has to be the 10th most heated state with COVID-19 in Nigeria. Gombe takes the number 10. Now, and Gombe has 451 confirmed cases of COVID-19. And here is a good news. It was earlier reported that some Gombe State House of Assembly, some members were infected with COVID-19. It was reported some times ago. But now 6 members out of the Gombe State House of Assembly have tested negative of COVID-19. And I think that is a good news for Gombe. What do you have to say as regards the state, which is the number 10 most heated state with COVID-19?
Good news about that, Kemi, and Nigeria is the fact that having a COVID-19 or being infected with COVID-19 is not a death sentence. It's not a stigma, and it should not be a stigma. And whoever is doing that. Now, what you have just reported in Gombe is good news within the ambit of the fact that, yes, this can happen, and we can subject ourselves to treatment, painful, but we can come out of it. It is only when you begin to now try and hide and you don't show it up. I'm particularly very, very displeased about situations where we have within the precincts of the presidency, as well, people go out, they don't come back and do the isolation of 14 days. That is not showing good example. So I'm happy that if the legislators in Gombe, and some of them are coming out, and we are also hearing many of those good news in Lagos that has about 43% of the cases that we have reported so far in Nigeria, people are recovering. People are saying we don't believe. People are confusing it and saying it is malaria. There is a wide difference between malaria because the virus that looks out for them, they are different. And we need to make sure that we keep our hygiene. And one of the things I'm going to be dropping with individuals, because the government virtually has failed us, please keep your surroundings clean. Loma in Lagos and the opposite of Loma in the other states should wake up and do all the things that they need to do to clean our environment. That is not taking place. And if that is not happening, we are not going to wait for government. We are going to be entrepreneurs. We are going to make sure we put and bag all our waste, both wet and dry, bag them properly. Because don't forget, beyond COVID, before COVID came, we had Lassa. The Lassa fever thing is still on. So we must keep our environment clean. And let me drop this for you, Kemi.
All right.
The Italian scientists have discovered that they saw the strain of COVID-19 in sewage as far back as December. You can now then imagine the kind of sewage that we have. You can imagine the kind of real terrible floods that we have. COVID-19 is swimming around us. We are swimming around them. And the only thing will be for us to please obey the protocol that has been established for us, for yourself, for your family, for your neighbors, and what have you. And I want to beg, I want to plead that as you are doing what you are doing, Kemi, and I need to really, commend you and commend MITV.
Thank you so much.
Likewise, down to the local government area, we need town criers to continue to mention this in our local languages. Yes. And that is why I am not so pleased that our faith-based organizations, religious organizations, some of them who are clamoring that churches and mosques and shrines should be open. Some of them are now taking a step backwards and say, hey, wait a minute, with this galloping thing that we are having, 487 as of yesterday, by a little projection, you don't need rocket science to say that if you double that, that will be 974 by December, because we are now in June. And with the way things are galloping, yes, but by December, if you multiply that by 2, by simple projection, and it is on a galloping basis, I am afraid we are going to get more than 1,000. And some people who are asymptomatic as we speak, some people who will not even have the traits as we speak.
They don't know they have COVID-19.
They will be part of this. I don't know if I'm going to be part of it. I don't know who is going to be part of it. But for me and my household,
we hope that nobody will be part of it.
And for my friends, that number is going to count if we don't do what we need to do and we do it right.
All right. Okay, before we let you go, Mr. Fatunke, I have just 2 more questions for you. Let's go to the area of Bayelsa. The Bayelsa State Task Force on COVID-19 says the state has recorded 42 new cases of COVID-19 in 3 days. Another 6 deaths was charged within the same period. That is just in 3 days in Bayelsa. They said it disclosed this weekend. They said the new cases brings to 128 total number of confirmed cases recorded in the state, with total number of deaths of 9, and with 90 cases still active in Bayelsa State. What do you have to say as regards Bayelsa? In 3 days, they had 42 new cases of COVID-19, just in 3 days.
In 3 days, they had 42 cases of
COVID-19. Yes,
COVID-19 because they ramped up the test a little. COVID-19, yes, because they ramped up their testing capacity. And the testing capacity that Bayelsa has done, I can tell you authoritatively, is still far below what we expect. You need to go to the Greeks. There was a study and a research that was done at the Greeks. Okay. You know what was said, and I heard it clearly, that COVID-19, nothing for city. No be for us. As far as we are concerned, look at our surrounding, look at the kind of pollution that we have. We can't even feed. And then they want to tell you that now something will kill man. Point I am making is that Bayelsa, and that is the truth, from Yenagoa down to the creek areas and what have you, testing has not been done. Many of them even said that they find it difficult to get transport to come to the city center, unfortunately. Wow. I think government should try and find a way to move nearer those in the creek, convince them, speak in their local dialect, and then you see that number will really increase.
All right, my final question for you before you go. The Foreign Affairs Minister said that presented a communique detailing the second evacuation of flight from the United States to Nigeria, which flight is scheduled for July 3rd. What do you have to say as regards this second U.S. evacuation?
I hope the second U.S. evacuation will materialize. We were told the first U.S. evacuation was going to happen. We had quite a lot of delays. And when eventually it came, I saw quite some clips that said that, they were kept in a particular place. They were not tested. They didn't come and all that. My point
because it's enough we are bringing back those people to Nigeria, but they're not getting tests.
They are not getting tested because those of us in Nigeria that have not been tested is really overwhelming. Do we have the capacity to put them in a place and test them? The last time I also checked, I understood that facilities all around are rejecting. They don't want to, they don't want to turn their hotels and
into
their
isolation
guest
centers
houses into test centers. Yes, isolation for them, for people to come there and physically test,
and
because our test centers are filled to the brim, and that is the truth. Now, I am so scared that people who are coming from abroad, and I got a call from somebody who is abroad, that they are hearing that some people are doing some bit of a mago concerning all these tests, that once you have a cold, they just slam it on you that maybe you are COVID-19. Allegedly.
Allegedly,
we need to be able to take care of that, and we need to be we need to be very, very honest in what we do. We need to be a bit much more open. We need not stigmatize, and if Nigerians are coming back, we should treat them with dignity. And if they come back and whoever tests positive will be good.
Okay, I guess we lost him. All right, many thanks to Mr. Akin Fatunke for joining us today on COVID-19 Update on MITV. And please don't forget, as citizens, we need to try as much as possible to follow all precautionary measures. We need to try our possible best to also wash our hands. We shouldn't get tired of washing our hands without COVID-19. And like I say, and I will continue to say, is the father, COVID-19 does not move. We move the virus. Please, let's stop stigmatization. And let's try as much as possible to take responsibility and stay safe. Let's mask up whenever we are in any public gathering. Let's make use of our masks, and definitely we'll be safe and we'll be out of COVID-19 in no time. Many thanks for joining us today, and hi, I'm Kemi Omosebi.